Hi, Danville. Alan Shields here, Chief of Police for the town. And we are 10-8 in service, which means we are here to make people's lives better. And we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. Thank you for joining us. This is a live show. So if you have questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat there. And we're going to work our hardest to answer those questions live. And what I don't get to live during the show, I'll make sure I come and get after the show here. All right. So we're going to cover some of the crime that's happened. And it was not a good week for crime. And frankly, the beginning of this week isn't shaping up to be any better. So we want you to be vigilant and be aware so that you know what is going on. We're also going to cover our third week of the annual report, go over some information there and let you know where you can find that. But I have some messages right off the bat. First, Diablo Road is closed. This is a 24/7 road closure. It's closed through April 13th. If you want information or you want to stay informed, go to our Town Talks website. The link is in the description. You can get all the information you need right there. And we've also been uploading and posting to our town Facebook page. So follow us on those pages. They're great resources for up-to-date information. And if we want to look at the map, this entire area is closed. So from Alameda Diablo to Avenida Nueva. If you are coming from Blackhawk, please take Camino Tasajara. Do not try to go through the roadblock or through the private road where there is no through traffic allowed. So please take Camino Tasajara. I'll say this. I've been actually going out there. I went out there the Thursday it was closed, the Friday, the Monday, and yesterday. People are adjusting. I know this is painful. I know it's not fun. I know it's not great, but we do need to get that culvert repaired so that the road does not fail. That would be an even worse situation, and I think the town is managing it and doing it as quickly as they can. And if you want some really cool information, go to our Facebook page. They're actually talking about how in the planning and design of this, they're constructing the pipes on site because that is a quicker way to get this job done. So it really is interesting the amount of care and concern that's going into, one, making this road repair, but two, and probably more importantly to anyone that drives that road, getting it done as quickly as possible and on time. So really take a look at that. All right. We talk about those high frequency, or low frequency rather, the events that don't happen that often, and the high risk events. And if you want to prevent and be prepared for those, go ahead and go to our FEMA All Hazards checklist, download those. We are highlighting the wildfire section now because it is raining, and this is when the stuff grows, and that stuff grows, dries out, and then burns. So this will help you be prepared, survive during, and make sure that you're ready to go afterwards. Wildfires oftentimes start because of humans. And there's a lot of things you can do to be prepared. One of them is sign up for our community warning system. That, along with Nixle, is how we notify the public that there are disasters happening. You can also download our wildfire preparedness and evacuation guide. This is an excellent guide. I think it works well in combination with our FEMA all hazards checklist. There's things that are very simple. Like right now we're highlighting the have a plan. It's very simple. Where do you go if something bad is happening? And are you prepared? Do you have a go kit? Do you have those things? Do you have the medication for those that need medication? So don't think of the FEMA All Hazards Guide and the Wildfire Preparedness as two independent. They actually work well together. And so we would encourage you to download them both and be ready. All right, I'm going to check, make sure there's nothing going on in the chat. I will watch both YouTube and Facebook for those that are watching. So either one, if you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat. All right, we're going to talk about crime, and it was not good. All right, so communitycrimeapp.com. You can go and you can get up-to-date information. We upload there several times a day. You can set alerts for your neighborhood, so you will get an email alert of what's going on. You can also get sexual offender registry information there as well. All right, March 20th through the 26th, 2023. We had a hit and run of a pedestrian on the 500 block of Ceremon Valley Boulevard, an injury collision on the 600 block of El Cerro, and then a non-injury collision on the 900 block of Ceremon Valley Boulevard. And on the 25th, so the only other day that we had accidents of the two, we had a non-injury collision on Lawrence Road near Province Road. Crime. This does not look great, I'll be honest. But it will show you two things. One, that there was an increase in crime last week, but it looks like it was attributed to two different events. We did have a theft on March 22nd that was reported from a vehicle on Sycamore Circle. That's down by the Rose Garden Shopping Center. Then we had, on the 24th, we had 3 thefts from an apartment complex on Diablo Road. So this is Diablo Road between the freeway and downtown. And there were 2 cars that were broken into and 1 vehicle that was stolen. And then on the 24th, we had 3 catalytic converter thefts that were reported, and those are on one was on Mountain Ridge and the other two are on Zenith Ridge. So if you look at the red circles on the map, the one on the left represents where the thefts that occurred on the 24th. So that's the two thefts from the vehicles and the one vehicle theft. The catalytic converter thefts, those are represented by the red circle on the right and the three little money bag icons. So that's way out east. That's the residents that are behind the Safeway Shopping Center south of Blackhawk Plaza. All right, and then on the 24th, we had a theft. This is just a petty theft shoplift from the Chevron at Harts. And then we had a theft from an unlocked vehicle on Alvezio Way. And then a theft from a person on Longview Circle. So it was not a robbery. I know oftentimes we think a theft from a person may be a robbery. In this case, it was kind of more of a grab and run from that one. That's a good amount of crime. We usually don't see that many crimes, but I wanted to show you how they are connected and related. We have had some where, and it was one of these thefts that occurred last week where someone actually saw a person by their car. So effectively, and they may not have realized that they were actually in there and taking the property, but effectively this person was alerted early in the morning that someone was stealing from their car. They saw the theft as it was occurring. When the person saw them, they said, hey, don't worry about it. Go back inside. And they went back inside and they never phoned the police until the next day. And so we didn't get the opportunity. And what we tell the crooks, what we tell the criminals is, look, it's not just the 30 officers. It's not just the 25 volunteers. It's not just the 4 reserve officers. It's not our professional. It's not the less than 100 people that work inside the police department and volunteer inside the police department that are looking for you. It's 44,000 plus people that are looking for you. So we need your help. If you see something suspicious, please call us. Have us come check it out. We respond to suspicious calls all the time. 99 times out of 100, it's nothing, right? Example, that call that I just kind of described in general, we've gone to those calls where, hey, there's someone suspicious hanging out by our car. And it turns out it's people that are visiting the neighbor's house and they're just chatting it up out front. No big deal, right? We go out, we say hi, we introduce ourselves, and that's that. So no big deal at all. But it is important that we get called out there. So we're encouraging you, if you see something, please say something. Please let us know what it is that you see. All right, I'm checking the chat. I don't see anything, which is good. It means maybe I'm answering all the questions, but this is a reminder. If you have a question, how about this? On the tails of what I just talked about, you don't have to put what you did, but I'm curious, have you ever called 911 or the police because you saw something suspicious? It could have been what you felt like was a drunk driver, maybe a suspicious vehicle in your neighborhood. And if you did, just put I called. Just put I called in there, and we'll see. This will be the informal poll of the very few people that are watching this show. But I just want to see who it is that calls. And so even if you're doing this afterwards, just put, I've phoned the police before for suspicious, or, I called, and that'll be good. All right. So let's go over the annual report. So this is a report every year I present to the town council. I do 4 reports a year, but I only do 1 annual report, and it's meant to be an all-inclusive report. And it's a checkup on what it is that we see throughout the town. And so let's take a look at it. This is not good. Let me pull this up. All right, see if I can get this to display properly again. All right, so I can't get over this picture of the kid on the cover. Just great. That's our Cops to the Community program, and you can sign up for that on our website. Okay, but let's talk about what we presented to council. In this particular one, I talked about release of information, which we've actually talked about it on the show, and why we release information. It's important that the police department acts in an air of openness. We want to act in transparency. We want to let you know, like we do in this show, what it is that's happening in town so you can be better prepared and we can be partners in the relationship of public safety. But we do have to balance it out between the rights of the public to know versus the privacy rights of the individual. And if you look at the Public Records Act, there's a lot of code sections in there, but that is effectively what it starts with. The public interest, because all documents are deemed public. So the public interest versus the privacy rights of the individual. So we don't release, if you go on to communitycrimemaps.com where we release our crime information, you see that we don't put like family violence and those sort of things on there, things that people have an expectation to privacy on. All right, so what are some of the limitations? We really follow the government code to the letter. It's guided by that. Now, what we do is we try to provide a different level of service. So this show is actually an example, right? We try to push the information out per the government code that we can, and we want to make sure that that people understand our primary focus. Like if there is a crime, so if your house is broken into, we want the public to know, yes, there is crime happening and it may be happening in your neighborhood. But what we don't do is we don't want to compromise the investigation. So what I won't do is I won't release information that could jeopardize the investigation and the pursuit to bring the person that harmed our victims to justice. So that I don't want to do. But let's look at what are the different stages in the release of information. So as a crime happens, if it is a significant crime, a lot of times you will see us put out an initial report, and usually we'll give just the facts. You know, a home was broken into on this street, and this is where we're at. If there is a public safety message, so if we're actually looking for people, we may say shelter in place, be on the lookout, help us find people. We'll give you a call to action, and then a policy statement as far as like, and that's a simple statement of what it is the police department does when we're searching or we're taking this action or we're following up on this case, what it is that we do. Now that middle part is what you'll see in the investigation. We usually don't release very much of anything during that point. And what we don't do is if you ever think about a football game and, you know, the pass goes out and you'll hear the announcer and they'll say, he's on the 60, the 55, you know, the 55, the 60. There is no 60-yard line. When's the last time I've watched football? Okay, let's start over. He's on the 50, the 45, the 40, and you'll hear him give that kind of play-by-play. That's not what we do. We'll give you the information. If there's critical information that there's an overriding public safety need to put out, we'll put that out. But usually we don't put anything out until the conclusion. And once it's concluded, then we'll put out information, if necessary, on the charges and bail that are filed against the suspect, the factual circumstances as they're known. But we're going to be very careful. What we won't do is we're not going to tell a Discovery Channel type story. This isn't like 48 Hours where we go through and we tell the tale, because what we have to be careful of is we don't want to be seen as trying the case in the public. It's important that you know what happened, but the proper venue for trying a case is in the courtroom. And so the suspect in the case, or the person that is charged, gets the right to due process and to make sure that he has or she has a fair trial. And so we're here to, you know, I can't start this show and say we safeguard lives, rights, and property if I leave people out of that mix. And that the rights section even includes suspects that are charged with a crime. We are here to protect their rights as well. All right, so let's talk about burglary. I like to break this out. I've broken this out over the past few years because I think it's important for you to understand and the council to understand what our burglaries actually look like. If you remember back in 2015, I've talked about this before, we had 119 total burglaries. That was the highest we had seen in well over a decade. Last year, so 2021, we brought it down to 26. And 2022, we saw an increase up to 43. 20 were residential burglaries, so that's where someone breaks into a home with the intent to commit a theft or any felony. And then 22 were commercial burglaries. That's where someone breaks into a business with the same intent. And then the last one was a miscellaneous burglary, and that's where they broke into a shed. So 34% solved rate. So we solved nearly 1 out of every 3 burglaries, which is a phenomenal average. If you look at the national average, is only 14%. And I think what we can credit a lot of these solves with is the community police partnership. So we get a lot of community support, and that isn't blind support. It just means that we all have the same goals and objectives, right? We want Danville to be a safe place, so we all push in that same direction. The other is the use of technology, and that's actually the next section in our annual report. And this is where I talk about some of the unique technology things that Danville is using to help get. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. So the use of technology to make Danville safe. So we We do use automated license plate camera technology. We've been using it since 2015, very successful. We did a vendor change in 2020 to Flock. And the great thing about that is it provides us a deterrent, right? So that we can put plates in the system of, stolen cars and things like that. So if someone comes into town with a stolen car, our officers will be alerted, and we can go and we can attempt to collect the property back, collect the car back, and potentially get the person in custody. Now, the apprehension side, so the investigative side, is this provides us data. So if your house is broken into and you've got your little Ring doorbell camera up on the door, and you can provide us a description of the vehicle, we'll take that description, put it in our system, and hopefully get a plate and give us a lead to go from. And so it is a very good system. We use it all the time. And the interesting thing is, when we first changed to Flock, there was a neighborhood who actually beat us to the punch here in town, right in our downtown area. So one of the neighborhoods purchased their own Flock camera for the entrance in their community. And the great thing is that actually goes directly into our system. So in the Danville area, so it's kind of Danville and South Alamo, there are 17 extra Flock cameras that are owned by residents that feed data one way to us. And so for all intents and purposes, it looks like a Danville camera, because we can get hits. So if a stolen car goes by, we can get that information. If we're looking for a car that just committed a crime, we can use that. But we don't share data back down to the HOA or the community. It's a one-way share. And so very, very good, very unique opportunity, but works very, very well. So another program, you may have had your bike stolen, you may have had the package stolen off your porch. Those are crimes that we see. And what we do is we take these little trackers. They're probably a little bit smaller than this phone. You like it during the show. This phone is a phone. It's a doorbell camera, and now it's a GPS bait device. So during the year, we will have, in different locations, we will have our bait bike and bait packages out and in areas, locked poles, on porches. And the goal is really to make it so that offenders will steal our property and not yours. And the hope is that we can catch them. And we've had fairly good success, although lately we haven't seen one, but we have had good success with people stealing our property and then apprehending them. So it is a program that we like, and we think it is effective. All right, one of the other technology pieces, how can we use technology to keep all of you safer, to keep our officers safer? And again, if we're protecting people, property, and rights, that includes the people that we may be chasing that are wanted in a crime. And what we're happy to say is that we have jumped on board with Star Chase pursuit mitigation devices. If you look from left to right in the pictures, the device on the left is a device that is, well, it's on my desk sitting next to a body camera. The body camera's on the right. It's called a DART. The DART is on the left. And that is a GPS tracking device that is shot out of a launcher. And the launcher is in the middle picture, and that's mounted to the front push bars of our cars. And it's done through a controller on the right. So that's what you see on the right, and it's an on-off button, an arm, and a fire. And what it'll do is that tracking tag will actually get launched from our car, our patrol car, and hit the suspect vehicle, the vehicle that we may, it may be a stolen car, maybe it's a felony wanted vehicle, and we can apply that tag. And so instead of having to follow really close, we can actually back off, use GPS, and locate the vehicle. Makes pursuits much safer and is a very good tool. And so we've equipped 7 vehicles. That's over half our fleet with them. And the idea is we want them to be out there, and we just want another option in our tool bag to try to keep these potentially violent encounters safer. All right. I'm going to check the chat. I saw some questions come in. I want to make sure I get them as we go. So Didang says there's been chatting on social media among neighbors that crimes are going up in our area, but police are not making arrests because they don't get prosecuted. Would you comment on this? Well, so we act independent of prosecution. So we really have to separate those. And frankly, that's what's nice about working for the sheriff. The sheriff has made it very clear, well, forever, that we are working on behalf of all of the people, and we are here to keep people safe. Our mission has never changed. Our officers' drive and motivation has not changed. If there is someone that's being harmed, I always say this, that police work is very easy. Someone simply has to raise their hand and say, help me, and we will go help them. We're not going to filter it on whether we think a crime will be charged or not. That's not our responsibility. Our job is to advocate on your behalf in partnership with you, right? So we all have the responsibility to keep Danville safe, and that includes you. But we are the ones that will go and investigate the crime, determine the facts of the crime. If there is a suspect that can be identified, arrest that person, and package all of the information up and send it to the district attorney's office. Last week, you remember I broke down, and I'll encourage you, just go to last week's video of 10/8. I did a breakdown of the robberies, and we had 5 robberies in town last year. 4 were solved by arrest. All 4 had prosecution. So I'm not necessarily seeing that. I know there are law changes that have happened that have decriminalized some things, but I lack an opinion on those. My job is not to be a politician. My job is not to get involved in that. My job is to focus the team here at Danville to make sure that we are acting on all of your behalf to keep everyone safe. So I would say, Didang, to answer your question, crime did go up slightly last year. I think it went up from 280. I'm trying to remember the numbers. So it went from 280 Part 1 crimes. I'll get the numbers. Actually, I'm going to put those numbers in the chat. But if you want to look it up, it can actually be found in our annual report. There's a link in the description to the annual report, and it's something that you can pull up. And I will actually show you what it looks like year over year. So we did see a slight increase this year, but if you look at it over 5 or 10 years, we're still very low, and the trend line is down for Danville. That may not be true everywhere. I'm just simply telling you what Danville looks like. So Sue has a comment there. It talks about voting and the district attorney. Again, I don't have opinions on those things. That's not, my goal and my job is to work on behalf of all of you, and that's what we work hard to do. Okay, so I'm looking at YouTube, nothing there. All right. So last thing in the annual report for this one, and we'll have one more day of the annual report, and then we're actually going to start working on emergency preparedness because it's going to be April. And we know that's when the weather starts to heat up and turn, and we'll get the beautiful flowers, but then all our hills are going to turn brown, and we come into fire season. We want to make sure you're prepared. All right. See if I can get this thing to keep working on me here. All right. So our move to the new office, we moved from 510 Lagonda Way next door to this nice, beautiful building at 500 Lagonda Way. And if you are familiar with the building, this is the office complex that had a theater connected to the building. So there was a theater side and an office side. What they did was the theater had never actually been built out, so they built into the second and third floor of the theater area and made that into a very, very good police department. If you look, we finally have a secure lobby. This provides me a little more assurance that my front counter staff, my professional staff, are actually protected. In our old office, it was open, and sometimes people would really get assertive and aggressive, and it wasn't as safe as it should be, and it definitely was not the industry standard. So we've got a secure place for our staff to conduct business and work with the public. I'm not sure why it keeps doing this. All right, so we also have a let me push this back up. I do want you to see these pictures. I think it's important. All right. We also have a secure parking lot. This allows us to keep our cars in a relatively safe place. The Emergency Operations Center, so that is the lower left picture. That is about an 80-person room that's got a very large TV. And in fact, we did use it when we had the flooding to monitor the weather and coordinate resources. It is something that we can eventually then connect to the County Emergency Operations Center and get a resource feed from them. Upstairs, we have a training room. This is great because it allows us to host regional training. So I don't have to send people all over the state. I can actually host it here. So we're having use of force reporting, leadership. We're having interview and interrogation, and terrorism, extremism, all kinds of training, and they're coming here. What that allows me to do, it allows me to send more people to training in a shorter period of time. If I have to wait and send people to Southern California, I can only send a few. But if we're here, I can send more, because if something significant happens in town, I can just pull people from the class and put them right into play. So it's a great facility. And in fact, that room, see if it comes up, that room on the lower right is where we hold our Citizens Academy. And so those that remember our old Citizens Academy at the building next door, although the building served its purpose and was very good, it was very, very old and cramped, and it was really hard to conduct business in that meeting. All right, I'm going to check the chat one more time. Okay, Di, thanks for the response. I appreciate it. And Di Dang, that's a very important question. And this is why we have these conversations. This is why we've created this space, because we want people to know what it is we're doing. But Di, if you really want to know, we just started our Citizens Academy. Tonight is week 2. And this is where we take 7 weeks and we explain everything it is the police department does to keep the town safe. And we present tools, we give tours, all kinds of things. And it's a great experience. So I would encourage you, if you have the interest and the question comes into mind, what is it that the Danville Police Department does? This is a great way to find out. Angie Fuller says, any information on the Natalie Lane burglary? Angie, I'm going to apologize. I don't have the specifics on that right now, so I'll have to get back to you in the chat on that one, and I'll look that up. If you can help out and just put the date on it that it occurred. If not, I can look it up by the address too. All right. Okay, some notices before we go here. Download the FEMA All Hazards Checklist. This will help you. I put the earthquake one up here, but this will help you prepare now and survive during and be safe after an event should one occur. Download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide and subscribe to our community warning system alerts, as well as our NIXL alerts. Diablo Road is closed. It remains closed through April 13th. And this road is closed from Alameda Diablo through Avenida Nueva. And this is a full closure. So if you're from the Blackhawk side of Diablo, we need you to take Camino Tasajara. There is no through traffic on Diablo Road or through the community of Diablo. So please do not take that road. All right. That looks like happened last weekend, March 24th, 26th, Angie. Okay. Well, let me look that one up, and I will get back to you. I feel bad. I'm actually not familiar with, and I should be, but let me look that one up. As always, we're 10:10, we're off duty, but as always, we're 10:08 and in service to all of you. Thank you, and have a good night, Danville.